Okay, so just a quick review on percentages and how they apply to VAT and profit and loss. So we'll start with the very simple ones. VAT, value added tax. Different rates, usually 23%, there's 13% rate, 9% rate. You have to be very careful of the rate, okay? Especially the lowest rate, the 9% rate. So be sure you check what the question is asking you in regards to what rate you're using. Okay, so there are usually two types of questions asked around this. The first type of question is where you have an amount, let's say €100, and it excludes or it's before VAT. Okay, that means that VAT has to be added on top of this €100, which means you'll pay more than €100. So the easiest way to do any of these type of sums is just on your calculator, multiply 100 or whatever the amount that you want to add the VAT onto, multiply that by 1 point, and then take your VAT rate and turn it into a decimal. So 23% is 0.23, 13% would be 0.13, 9% would be 0.09, and just multiply it by 1 point, whatever that decimal is. Okay, so in this case, 100 multiplied by 123 is €123. So now that includes VAT, or it's after the VAT has been added. Okay, the second type of question is the reverse. What happens if you're given a number that includes the VAT? For example, let's say you start at we're dealing with a 23% VAT rate. We're told that this amount includes VAT, okay, or it's after the VAT has been added. Okay, so in order to find out how much it was before or excluding VAT, we would consider that this number, actually €123, represents 123%, because it used to be a certain amount and then you added an extra 23%, and that original amount was obviously 100% of that amount, and you've added an extra 23%. So this new amount, if this represents 123% and you want to go back to before, you would just do the reverse, 123 divided by 1.23, and again that will bring you back to 100. So they're the two simplest kind of sums you can do with VAT. One where the VAT is excluded from the price, or it's before you add the VAT, and in order to add the VAT you just multiply by 1 point whatever the VAT rate is, and that'll bring it into including the VAT. Or you're already at a point where the VAT has been added, it's included, or it's after you've included the VAT and you want to get back to before, you just reverse the process, you reverse the algorithm, you just divide by, in this case, 100 or 1.3%, or 1.3, and that should bring you back to the number beforehand. Okay, so they're the simplest type of sums with VAT, but it's very important to read the question. Are they talking about before you add the VAT? After? Is the VAT already included and you want to know before? Is there VAT excluded and you want to know after? So reading that part of the question is more important than doing the actual sum, because once you know what they're looking for, you can either multiply and get the VAT in, or divide and get the VAT out. Okay, so they're the type of questions that come up traditionally with VAT. Now, with regards to more simpler questions to do with profit and loss. So we'll define profit and loss first of all. Okay, and to define profit and loss, we have two numbers that come from business. One's called the cost price, okay, and one's called the selling price. Now, cost price, CP for short, selling price, SP for short. Okay, so the cost price is the price the seller, the retailer, the shop pays for the goods. So, a gross, or a Tesco, or a Multiple, any of those shops, they will get a cost price from the producers, the Coca-Colas, the farmers, the people, the bread makers. They'll all have a cost price that they're willing to give that to the multiple chains of, that you go in and buy your normal stuff from. Okay, the selling price is the price the seller sells to the customer. So this is the price that you see. So you see this price, and the shop knows this price. So they're very important concepts. The selling price is only the price that you see. The cost price is the one that they know about. Okay? Because they bought it for this and they sold it for that. And if the cost price is less than the selling price, you will always, whoever is selling makes a profit. But if the cost price is greater than the selling price, it'll be a loss. Okay, so it's as simple as that. So you want to buy cheap so that it's less than what you sell at. So in other words, you buy it for €10, you sell it for 15. 10 is less than 15, you made a profit. You buy it for €10, you sell it for €5. 10 is greater than 5, you've made a loss. That's the simple concept. Okay, but these are very important concepts to understand when we're talking about profit and loss. Okay, so we'll do a simple example. Okay, so I buy for €200 and sell for €300. So how would I know whether I made a profit or loss? Okay, so all I do is take my selling price minus my cost price. Okay, and if the answer is positive, I've made a profit. And if the answer is negative, I've made a loss. So let's check it. So my selling price, I sold it for 300 and I bought it for 200. So that's my selling price. There's my cost price. Answer is €100. That is positive, so it's a profit. Okay? So that's how simple it is. You made a profit. Now, if you want to work out the percentage profit or loss, in other words, what percentage is that profit or loss compared to what you bought it for? Well, then you just take your profit divided by your cost price and multiply it by 100 to get a percentage. Or you need the same with your loss. So always over your cost price and multiply it by 100. Okay, and that will give you your percentage profit or loss. So in this case, I made a profit of 100. So that's 100 divided by my cost price, which was 200. So multiply it by 50. So I multiply by 100%, and I got a 50% profit, which is quite good. It's quite healthy. Okay, so that's the basis of profit and loss. Determine, first of all, whether you've got a profit and loss using a simple formula. In other words, it's all to do with the difference between what you bought it for and what you sold it for. Your selling price minus your cost price will determine whether you've got a profit or loss. Positive equals profit, negative equals loss. Once you've got your profit or loss, you just divide it by cost price, always the cost price. Multiply by 100, the answer, and that'll give you the percentage profit or loss. Okay, which is a very descriptive way of telling you whether you've made money or not made money. Okay, now you can get a bit more finesse on that. Okay, so there's two other numbers you can determine. You can determine what's called the markup. Okay, and the margin. Okay, so the markup is very simple. It's just your profit divided by your cost price multiplied by 100 over 1. So it's basically the same as your percentage profit. Okay. However, your margin is the more important one. It's your profit over your selling price. And you might think, why would you have two different descriptors? that tells you the absolute amount. It tells you the difference really between what you bought for and what you sold. Okay, this one tells you whether or not what you sold it for was a good price to sell it at. Okay, because the bigger this margin is on each item, the more overall profit you get. So let me show you again with a simple example. Okay, let's say I buy for 100 and sell for 150. So let's determine, so there's our selling price. So SP minus CP, so that's 150 minus 100 is 50 profit. It's positive, so it's profit. So let's get our markup. I'm going to take my profit, I'm going to divide it by my cost price, which was 100, and multiply it by 100 over 1. And I get 50%. So that's a 50% markup, or percentage profit. Now, I'm going to do it the same with the margin. I'm going to take my 50 euro, I'm going to put it over 150 euro and multiply it by 100 over 1. And I get 33 and a third percent. So my margin was only 33.5%. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do the same thing, but nothing's going to change with my cost price. I still bought it for 100 euro, but this time I'm just going to sell it for 10 euro more. Okay, so same scenario again, buy for 5 for 100, but this time I'm going to sell for 160. Now, it doesn't sound much more. You're selling for 160, 10 euro more. What big difference can make? So we'll do our same things. SP minus CP, so that's 160 minus 100, 60 quid profit. This is, it's tenner in your pocket. It's great. Okay, so let's see what it makes the difference. So I'm going to take that 60, divide it by 100, multiply by 100 over 1, and I get 60% markup. Okay, 10% more. That's predictable. Now let's do this one. Let's put the 60. Sorry, let's put the 60 over 160. Okay, now this is going to be a harder one, so you probably need your calculator for this, but feel free to use your calculator on this one. So you just put into your calculator 60 over 100, or sorry, 160, sorry, 60 over 160. So 60 over 160, and you get 37.5%. So you see, your markup's gone up. That extra tenner doesn't look like much, but it does increase your margin. You can see the difference. Your margin's gone up 4 whole percent. Okay. So looking at these two numbers, a company, a shop, a person on the street who's selling stuff can work out how to manipulate their cost price and selling price to maximize the margin on each one. Because the bigger this number is, naturally the bigger this number is in. But this is the important one, because this is the one you're selling at. So it's important to keep this number super high. You can't control this number as much, but this one you can. Okay? Right, so that's markup and that's margin. So there's your basics for VAT, profit and loss.